Hello, and thank you for joining the Maven's Private Diaries. This is your gorgeous host, Susan. Today, we're having a very interesting conversation around midlife shaming. Yes, you heard correctly. It's not fat shaming, it's called midlife shaming. And apparently, it's about having a go at women who choose to do something about dealing with their menopause, as if we're all supposed to be martyrs and just suck it up. So my guest, her name is Tracy Minnoch. She's a fitness expert, and you guessed it, she's also living with menopause. So let's have a listen to what she has to say.
Thank you for joining the Maven's Private Diaries, brought to you by thespicyboudoir.com, purveyor of high-quality, premium body-safe pleasure products for the over 50s and people living with a disability.
Hi, my name is Susan, and these are my private diaries. Occasionally I will host a guest speaker or read out someone else's diary, with their permission, of course.
Content warning.
This podcast contains the occasional swear word, lewd comments and discussion around sex.
Warning, warning.
You will no doubt hear the emotional pangs of a woman who has lost her libido to menopause. Listen at your own risk and enjoy. Hi everyone, it's Susan the Maven, and today my guest is Tracy Minnoch-Nuku, who's based in New Zealand, across the ditch from where I am in Australia. And I've recently met Tracy. She invited me to be on her podcast, Sexy Aging. Thank you very much. It was a great chat that we had. And I've asked Tracy to come here to talk to us today about her experience with menopause, and in particular, something I had not thought about before, but I'm certainly going to tune in my radar to pick up on this, and that's midlife health shaming. Over to you, Tracy.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that. It's actually something I've been thinking about for a while, through my own personal journey, trying to manage my perimenopause symptoms. And I think I've done incredibly well. So just to give a little backstory of my journey with perimenopause, I'm in the fitness industry, and this is all I've known my whole life. So I started as an aerobics instructor when I was 18, and I kind of moved my way through until I secured a role overseas to help a brand of fitness clubs expand across Southeast Asia. So you've probably heard of Fitness First. They were quite big in Australia as well. And so I came in as part of the crew for Southeast Asia and across the group fitness aspect of it, and to build and create programs and do training for instructors, and then eventually build a management system for 80 clubs. And so I spent quite a long time in Southeast Asia, and towards the end of my time there, because I've only just recently moved back to New Zealand, the last 6 years, my husband and I actually set up our own fitness clubs and developed our own programs and everything like that. And by that stage, I was like 45, so a new adventure, sort of at that hitting that midlife moment. When you look back on it, you go, oh, that's the time, 45 is the time where things go a little AWOL. So I was probably highly stressed because it's a new project, but also really inspired because it was something completely different and on our own terms. We weren't working for someone else anymore. We were doing what we had always wanted to do for a long time.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, so good. But there was all this stuff going on physically for me that I just put it down to stress and had a lot on my plate. Also had a young child at that time. I had a baby when I was 42. So he was a toddler by the time we started this new business. And I also have a teenager. So throw that in the mix. And there's high levels of stress right there. So I just put everything down, like the not sleeping very well, the night sweats, the forgetting things, and the sort of mild anxiety, I would almost say, down to just being really stressed. And then there is the link between stress and experiencing those symptoms anyway. So it's like chicken or the egg. Is one thing doing it first, or is this doing it first, and making that stress worse? So I just kind of dealt with it for a couple of years, but still had never come across the word perimenopause, just kind of dealt with the symptoms. And a lot of the reason why I didn't kind of start a conversation or reach out to anyone, although I did go and see my GP, and she never mentioned it either.
I was going to ask you, had you seen your GP?
Yeah, I did, because I went to change my contraception based on the fact that I knew I didn't want any more children. And so she recommended to have the Mirena IUD. And the only thing that she said was, this will help you go through the next few years. In hindsight, what she meant was, this will help you when you start to experience perimenopause symptoms. That was it. So that's what she could have said. And then we would have had a really good conversation. And I would have said, such as, and tick, 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 that's me. And then we could have had an early on HRT conversation, but that never happened. So, so I was in the industry, and most everyone I'm working with is incredibly young, vibrant, fit, sexy, and there's me. Now I'm quite youthful, and for those who have listened to some of my podcast episodes before, you'll know that my husband is 9 years younger than me, so that's good. And
you're only as young as the man you feel.
Yeah, you know it, girl. Yeah, we always joke about that, and I think he keeps me young, and my younger son keeps me young. So I don't think that people really realised my age. And then there's that whole thing about age anyway. So, but I was doing it tough in the trenches, trying to figure out what was going on with my body. And then when it starts to kick into my mind, where I felt like, oh God, am I too old to do this anymore? I can't remember stuff. I've missed deadlines. I forgot to pick him up from school that day. Like there's all these things that start to play out that make you think you're losing your shit, like, or you're losing your mojo, and and even like feeling really short and stressed around friends. That was also something that I felt quite a lot of shame about, to be honest. Just that I was kind of ambivalent towards my friendships, and at times didn't even want to hang out. And B, never even opened up to them, because I felt like they wouldn't understand, because I didn't understand what was going on. So by the time I did realise, after Mr. Google research at night, that I had what was termed, or is known as, perimenopause, and that aha moment of, okay, right, I understand my body well, so let me look at all the science of how this is playing out in my body, and let me figure out what I can do to look after my health. So I managed to get on top of it. I had some really good support. Dr. Wendy Sweet, one of the guests in my podcast right at the beginning, was a guest that we went to university together, actually. So we already had this relationship, and she had stepped well and truly into that space to help women deal with menopause symptoms. And her method is, tried and true and scientific, but not medical. So there's no HRT or anything like that. And where I agree with what she's doing is she addresses the health things that you should do: stress, sleep, exercise, nutrition, relationships, all those things I totally got. And so I integrated that into my life. And then we came to New Zealand. Now I'm here, and I've got quite a few things sorted out. There's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, but I've got my meditation, I'm doing my journaling, I'm putting myself first at the beginning of the day. And I'm still experiencing brain fog, sore joints, pain at night sleeping, and starting to get stress incontinence and really stupid things like that. And I'm thinking, like, am I going to have this for like the next 10 years? Is this my life? This is not sexy, the stress incontinence thing. So,
No.
what happens now? And I was so lucky to interview a doctor in the UK who is quite well known now because she's part of a really big menopause movement. She works directly with Dr. Louise Newson, who is well known for her part in helping women understand HRT as a hormone replacement therapy that's very effective for those that can take it. Now, there are people that can't, and that's what it is. It's the same with other medications or other treatments. Like if you've been diagnosed with something, and the doctor says, here is the tried and true recommended treatment for it, you're a good candidate, then would you say, no, I think I'll just tough it out? No, that's not me. So my learning from Dr. Rebecca Lewis, who was the guest on my podcast about HRT, completely blew my mind. I knew nothing. And after that, I decided to research. I went to my own GP. She was quite adamant that me, being a fit, healthy woman who obviously knew enough about my body, would not need HRT. This is the GP. Now, she's the same age as me.
But what's she basing that on? Just her
lack of knowledge,
medical knowledge? Wouldn't you think? Because every person is unique in their body and their biological needs. That wouldn't they perhaps do a full screening and say, right, let's give this a crack and see how you respond. Let's escalate up to a specialist. Just say, just to knock it on the head straight away.
Yeah. I think where the challenges exist, and this is probably where a lot of women will appreciate what I've got to say, is that you have probably done a little bit of personal research by this time and realize that you are in the category of perimenopause or going through the menopause transition. You have probably written down a few of the symptoms, but you can't link it together or explain to a doctor, why you know that this is a perimenopause symptom, and it's not anxiety or depression or something else that they will prescribe for you for that one particular symptom. It's a link of a lot of different things. Now, for perimenopause, if you can tell the doctor that you have at least 5 of them, they should be able to say, yes, you are right, that is perimenopause. And because of that, your options are this, and this. Now, that should be a given. And that is kind of what's happening in the UK now, really driven by Dr. Louise Newson, Davina McCall, a whole lot of people that are shouting out, hey, look, we are midlife women who've got so much left to give, and yet you're putting us over here and we're kind of suffering for it with our health and with our mental wellness as well. So, and so it was really interesting because my GP was English, so she had no connection to what was happening in the UK. Very interesting. Same age as me, and quite adamant that I would need blood tests and a whole battery of tests before she would let me try HRT. So that was really interesting. So that was the first moment that I sort of felt like someone was actually judging my own opinion on my own body, and the fact that I am an intelligent, smart person. I do work in that industry where I know exactly what's going on. I can kind of pinpoint it. I'm not a doctor, right? So I appreciate doctors and the work and the study and everything that they've done. I don't know very much about drugs, so that's not my area of expertise. But I do know enough about the science to know what's going to work, what's not going to work.
Can I butt in and say what I'm hearing is a woman who has worked in the fitness industry for a very long time, but also very in tune with your own body and the messages. And there's a connection between, your consciousness and what your body is saying. So I totally get that. I'll just as an aside, I'll just relay conversation I had with a dear friend many, many years ago, someone I used to work with. ladies, if ever you get an ache in your body that doesn't go away, particularly around your lower back region, and your GP says, oh, you've strained your back, please push harder, because a friend of mine had ovarian cancer and
Yes.
too far gone
Yes.
in the end.
Yeah.
So just,
Yeah.
sometimes you've just got to
Yeah.
push through this
Push for
criticism
it.
and this
Yeah.
judgment.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this is the exact example. Yeah. Yeah. I had to push through. So
Can we jump then? So for me, my menopause journey, and I know I'm not out of it. I'm pretty sure I'm in the thick of menopause now. I went through really severe brain fog early this year, and I have got a very good supportive GP, and she checked bloods before she looked at anything else, and my thyroid was out of whack. And so
Well, that's a good example. Yeah.
Medication there has brought me back, and I'm probably 99% back on my game. But for you, so you started hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
And how long ago
So
was that, Tracy? What was it like?
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Batter up. So yeah, I bit the bullet, did all the tests for her, and went back, and she said, so none of the tests really show a problem. And I'm like, yeah, of course, because here's the app and the report that supports what I'm trying to tell you, because there is an app out there called the Balance app. And if you can just record all your symptoms for about 30 days, you can download the report that it will tell you, and you can give that to your GP. So I just want to give that a little tip for anyone out there. It's called Balance. So I did that, and she said, okay. And she actually looked up HRT in the office, meaning that she wasn't aware what the dosage should be. And I said, well, I'm on the Mirena IUD, so I already have the progesterone support that I need for my body. So I am looking for the estradiol. I'm not exactly sure how you say it, the patch. Yeah. So it's the estrogen patch, and you would use it twice a week. You just change it. So it's super easy. And then, so she was okay, like, okay, let's get going. And I will tell you that in 48 hours after using my first patch, I was unbelievably on my game. Like, it was like I was 30. Like, the fog cleared. I didn't have to write anything down. I think I worked for 3 hours straight without getting off track, that feeling of getting off track and then wondering what the heck I was supposed to be doing. Yes. Yeah. And it's been like that ever since. And I feel like I've got my energy back. Some of the other niggly symptoms, the ones that I'm not prepared to put up with for the rest of my life, they've also decreased. Yeah. So
does that cover your body aches and stress incontinence?
Yes. Because the hormone estrogen. Yeah, I've seen a turnaround. I mean, I do have some kind of niggly, like a little sort of hip knee thing, but I think it's based around years and years of abuse. And because I do a lot of yoga now, like I changed out a lot of sort of high intensity exercise. I do a lot more yoga. I do a lot more strength training than I used to do, because I used to just run and cycle and do a lot of cardio. I've kind of changed things around quite a lot, and it's helping. But okay, so when I talk about, and I've given it a title, Midlife Health Shaming. So I have had some really interesting conversations with very smart women, also in the menopause space, meaning they make it their career passion to talk about it. And everyone's got really good, interesting insights into how to deal with menopause. So it sort of feels like there's the camp that sits over here that goes, this is a normal part of life. It is a normal part of life. And you should be able to deal with that for the rest of your life, because it's a normal part of life. And so therefore you shouldn't need HRT. And then there's the other side over here that go, well, HRT and all the studies show that it also increases your bone density, decreases brain degeneration, decreases heart disease. I'm just like, hello. Now, and there's the camp in the middle. They are undecided because they maybe have a family history of breast cancer, or they have an underlying health condition that they don't feel comfortable, manipulating their hormones back to that estrogen progesterone mix. And that I can appreciate. Actually, I appreciate this camp over here too, because they work incredibly hard on their health without support. But I have had messages to me, and I do put myself out there. I wrote a couple of blogs about my journey trying to get HRT. I've put it out there, and so it's not unexpected that someone would come back to me and go, I don't agree with your message. I think you need to work a little harder on trying to tweak those little things that are bugging you, like brain fog and sore joints, because you could do this, and you could take this supplement, and you could do, and I'm just like, I know that. And if those things worked for me, I wouldn't be looking elsewhere. But I truly don't feel, as a 51-year-old woman, that I should suffer. That's it.
That's right.
That's where,
That's right. And like, I'm very curious to know, because menopause is a natural milestone in our lives, how women have suffered in the past before science has caught up with treatment options, suffering in silence all those years. And I haven't done any research to this, but my gut feeling tells me that there would have been in each town, village, a woman who was a healer or a shaman who knew the herbal remedies, I guess, or the that would help ease pain, provide clarity, and so forth. So, like, I don't put myself in any camp. I think every woman is different. Your menopause journey is your journey. We all share the fact that we're going to go through menopause at some point of our lives. And let's not forget the women who experience medically induced menopause or menopause through trauma, So, but we're very fortunate to live in the times that we are. And I think we should all support each other with the choices that we make.
And that's the point. It's like you have the choice, and we're all going through it together, and we're all kind of in this new phase of wanting to talk about it and wanting to let everybody else talk about it. We are in that phase. And so therefore it's not unexpected that people will choose one side or the other and not think to sort of flow between and experiment. And then go, I did try this, didn't work for me. Now I'm doing this, and that seems to be helping a lot. I think it just comes down to waking up every day and just feeling good. Because when you feel good, whether taking HRT or not, but if you truly feel good and you're on your game, you can deliver on that next amazing thing that you want to do in your life. Right? And you have that clarity, and that's the coolest part about menopause, is just, out with the bullshit, in with the new shit. So good.
And just on that feeling good, I'll just link back to how we met. There's a wonderful woman on this planet called Sandy Davies. She lives in Far North Queensland. Sandy is a Kansas girl, but now Australian, I hope. I think she's Australian. But we'll claim her for our own. Sandy's menopause journey, she had a horrific experience with a very dry vulva and used a product that just basically seared her skin and very, very painful. And she couldn't find a solution. So she made something, she developed a product called Happy Pause. And I just wish that had been around when I was going through my initial patch of really, really dry, and I'm talking dry like leather.
Desert.
Just terrible. I've got a little jar. I always keep one here to hold up to people. You can buy that through the Spicy Boudoir or go to happypaws.com.au. But it's a magic balm. It's like a little miracle that you can carry around in your handbag, and you just need a tiny drop of a pearl. And
Yeah.
Sandy's motto is, if you feel good down there, you feel good everywhere.
Feel good everywhere. Yeah.
Bloody true.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's so
So what's
true.
the
I
next?
mean, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think there must be a little bit of a lag time with our chat across the ditch today. I was just going to
Yeah.
ask you, what's your journey with sexy aging? Where are you going to take that?
This has come up a few times recently, and I've actually done a podcast panel because people want to go. People are like, "Well, what are you doing with sexy aging? Is it going to become something?" And I think with podcasts, you get into it altruistically. You get into it because you have a message that you want to share, and it's really one of my favorite things is just having a conversation with someone like you. You know, like that. I mean, that's so cool. We get to sit down, and I find I become so much more authentic and honest through my podcast. I feel like I've been able to talk about things that I was uncomfortable talking about with my girlfriends, and now I'm actually putting it out there, which is crazy. So to get back to my genuine roots of my passion for fitness, so Sexy Aging is going to become a brand. It is a brand in itself with the podcast, but I am about 95% of the way through editing my book, Sexy Aging Chronicles, which talks about the 27 out of 34 symptoms I've had. And I've had wonderful people contribute to the book as well. So it's not just about me and my stories. So Sandy actually has contributed to the book, which is awesome. And so that's probably coming out early next year. And then I'm actually working on how women in midlife should be training physically their bodies. It's not the way they shouldn't be doing hit workout, you know, like, and it's an all-encompassing fitness program, but it has the wellness aspects that help with recovery. And I deep dive a little bit into sleep as well. So it's a program that comes out on an app, and you subscribe to the program. You get all the information in advance. Then you download the app, and I tell you what to do every day for 3 months. So yeah, that's Sexy Aging training.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that we'll have all the links available in our show notes and on our website as well. Tracy, it's been so good catching up with you again today. I have a feeling this won't be our last conversation. There's we have a lot in common with menopause, but also aging gracefully, aging sexy, and living our lives with passion. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Maven's Private Diaries. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and took away some wisdom, chuckles, or inspiration. Let me know your thoughts, either positive or constructive. You could leave me a review on your listening app. So this podcast is the property of Susan Jarvis, me, the Maven. For inquiries, please visit www.thespicyboudoir.com.